You probably know someone who seems stressed out all the time. Could be your spouse or even a child. So today, expert advice on handling the highly sensitive people in your life. Studio 5 relationship coach Dr. Matt Townsend is here with some advice.
Yeah.
Who falls into this highly sensitive category?
So many people. So I just did a workshop on anxiety, and I had them all take a test, 140 people in a room, to see if they were high sensitive. Literally 99% of the people that were suffering from anxiety are high sensitives.
Wow, that's a correlation.
Crazy. It's the highest I've ever seen, because I give the assessment all the time, and I've never seen so many people in one room. The research shows that about 20% of the population of all the animal kingdom are more highly sensitive. They pick up more information, they pick up more data. They're the kind of the early warning detectors for the rest of the herd. And we've evolved to kind of pick up physiologically more data. They call these people high sensitives. It doesn't mean they're nice, it doesn't mean they're more caring. What it means is they pick up data, smells, sounds, visual stuff, light bothers them more, and it stresses them out. And that's why they believe a lot of these people end up feeling anxious, because once they have too much information on board, they're stress cases. And I equate them to Ferraris. And what I say is they're like Ferraris living in a world full of Chevys.
Okay.
Okay, now it's weird. Now don't think of the value of a Ferrari to a Chevy, but if I'm a Ferrari, you probably don't want to take me off-road. You probably don't want to take me four-wheeling. I may not like a trip to the beach when I'm driving through the sand in my Ferrari.
Right.
And I may not like a bunch of kids in this Ferrari with sand and dirt and water everywhere. It stresses us out. So the high sensitives tend to be fine-tuned kind of machines, and they wear out really fast in the day. So you got to take care of them. We're going to give you some tools for how to manage and handle the high sensitive.
And is there some benefit to how the rest of us can understand these people a little better?
Huge.
These high sensitives.
Right. Now because we don't want to think they're prickly, because they're not. What they are is they're incredibly intuitive. They read people really well. They tend to be more spiritual. They feel things more. A lot of times they feel like they can see what or think or hear what someone's thinking. It's a very sensitive thing. But here are the rules, and some rules that we can all use to manage them. Yeah.
Okay.
Number one, high sensitives are much more impacted by their environment. The smell in the room, the heat in the room, the temperature in the room, the noise in the room starts to get to the high sensitive. Those are the ones that when they can't take it anymore, they tend to either blow up and get really angry, like stop bouncing the ball, stop bouncing it, or they tend to just withdraw and they go into some corner of the house and they just hide away, and then maybe they read, maybe they've dimmed the lights. So I'm a high sensitive. I'm like off the chart high sensitive, didn't even know it. But when I get overstimulated and my kids keep bouncing a ball in our house, I get frustrated and I need it to stop. And my wife, now that she knows I'm a high sensitive, she doesn't have to think I'm mean, she doesn't have to think I'm crazy, she just has to know that I'm trying to de-stimulate my life. So the environment impacts us. One of the worst things in the world for me is the beach, which is crazy because it's cute, it's romantic, it's fun, take the family, it could be so peaceful, but there's sand, and you're sweating, and you feel the drip of sweat work down your back. And a lot of people that aren't sensitive don't notice that. They don't care that everyone gets in the car with sand, no one cares. But for the high sensitive, we pick it up. So after about 4 hours at the beach, we just need a break. And that might be where your spouse says, I'm gonna go get some water for the family. And they come back like 3 hours later, because they needed a break, right?
So how can this heightened sensitivity be a good thing, a positive thing?
It's a huge thing, because I would follow the lead of the high sensitive, especially if you have younger kids, because if you have a high sensitive husband and he can only take 4 hours at Disneyland, then we probably ought to only do 4 hours, because you might notice that about 7 hours, everyone hates each other, everyone's mad, everyone's angry.
It crumbles
It starts to fall apart.
Yeah.
So use them as an early warning detector. Another thing, just like a Ferrari, little bumps in a sports car feel really big. So little things for a high sensitive tend to be kind of big. Little surprises. Hey, I forgot to tell you, my parents were coming over for dinner and we're gonna have to host 6 people tonight.
So that would be
good to know. Good to know. And it starts to create more stress, right? So little things sometimes blow up. Sometimes my wife will just startle in the car because she'll think like we just almost went under a semi-truck. And she'll freak out and scream. And the minute that happens, because I pick up so much data, I hear the sound, I feel the intensity, I feel her fear, and it just takes me off the chart. And then all of a sudden I'm frustrated and I don't know why. So little things. So a lot of times you'll notice the high sensitive, they try to control their life. They try to keep things ahead of time. They're always asking, so who's coming Thursday? What are we doing next Friday? They're always kind of planning ahead to mitigate and to simplify their lives.
So what makes things easier? Just planning ahead?
Planning ahead, giving them some control, give them a head start on things, let them be in charge of what they can be in charge of. High sensitives, another little rule for them is they need regular pit stops. Just like a Ferrari, they rev really high, they've got high RPM. They can be out on the course for 4 hours, but they need a pit stop. They need to come in and take breaks. You might notice that your high sensitive partner may not want to go shopping all day for Christmas shopping for 12 hours. They might give you 3, but if you try to stretch them to 5, you'll probably get divorced. It's not going to be pretty but you think they think like you. So if you're not a high sensitive, you're a Chevy Suburban, you can take 8 kids, you can go shopping all day, you can go four-wheeling, but high sensitives, the research shows, are picking up about 4 times more data. So if I have 4 times more data on board, and the same processor as you, I'm out, I'm done. So when I say, really, I'm done, believe me. And it doesn't mean you can't go shop, but you may not expect the high sensitive to go shopping with you, right? You may not take the Ferrari shopping, but you really want to take it on great drives and in certain situations, if that makes sense.
And they know their limits.
Yeah.
That's the key
They're really
point.
good at knowing their limits. And interestingly, they know a lot of other people's limits too. They know when the kids have had it, and they're feeling the vibration of the kids, and so they start vibrating as well. Another rule is that high sensitives may want fewer people in the car. One reason I say that, it's just like a Ferrari. Ferrari is a coupe. It's a 2-seater. It's kind of intentionally meant to minimize who goes. There's only 2 seats.
Yeah.
It's not a Suburban. Suburbans have multiple seats. It's not an SUV. So a lot of times you'll see the high sensitive doesn't want to go to the party. They don't want to go where there's 50 more people to have to talk to. They don't want to have to constantly deal with all of the people. So a lot of times they minimize. Don't feel bad about that. It's not that they don't like you or your parents. It's not that they don't like these things.
Are they loners, though?
A lot of times, 70% of the time, high sensitives are introverted. But 30% of the time, they're still an extrovert, but they also know that they can only go so long.
So long.
But you'll see that when they get there, they can kill it in the scenario, because they read people really well. And so they manage people really well, but they also, when it's done, it's time to go. Time to go. So just notice that. And then the last rule about high sensitives is notice that they tend to have a harder time letting go of data. I say that a high sensitive goes about 5 feet wide and about 1 mile deep, or 100 miles deep. And the average person only goes about 5,000 miles wide and about 1 foot deep. So high sensitives stay very kind of in a small area, but they go super deep. They think about everything that could happen. They think about every iteration of life, all the possibilities. Their head's constantly spinning. So sometimes they just need help getting ideas out of their head, which is writing stuff down, getting it out, sharing it with people. Help them get the information out. A lot of times they don't sleep very well. A lot of high sensitives don't test very well.
Interesting.
Because there's too much information going on in the room. Sometimes they get diagnosed as having ADHD, but they don't. They just are overstimulated because they're picking up so much data that it distracts them.
I bet a lot of people are thinking to themselves, that explains it.
That's my husband.
That is them, and that's why.
But it's a beautiful thing. It's actually a very positive thing. They tend to be more empathic. They tend to be more caring. They notice stuff. They notice things that are happening. They might be more emotional at times. Sometimes they are more reactive, but it's not a curse. It's a gift, and we didn't want it. And here's the weird thing. If your husband or your wife has got it, there's a really good chance your kids do too.
So keep an eye out.
So understand that they're Ferraris in a Chevy world, and sometimes it doesn't work together. But we need both Ferraris and Chevys to make life work.
Yes, we do. There's an upside to it. Matt, you have a great new way to share your advice. Tell us about that.
So we did an entire workshop on this. It was a 4-hour workshop. It was awesome. We recorded the entire thing, and now it's online. So anyone can go get it. You can download it and start learning, and even get the assessment, get the workbook for how to know how to handle being a high sensitive. Just go to matttownsend.com. Piece of cake.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Courtney.